I want you to imagine something with me for a second. You're not here anymore. Your funeral is happening. Your family is sitting in rows, grieving, remembering you. And while they're processing the loss, someone hands them a bill. $15,000, maybe more, for the casket, the service, the flowers, the burial plot. And if they don't have it, they're choosing between going into debt or giving you a send-off that feels incomplete. Now imagine this. That bill, that moment, that stress on the people you love most, it was completely avoidable. You could have planned for it, but you didn't, because no one ever told you to start your financial plan at the end of your life and work backwards. That's what we're talking about today. Reverse retirement planning. It sounds dark, maybe even morbid, but it's one of the most clarifying financial exercises you'll ever do. Because when you start at your funeral and work backwards, everything about money starts to make sense in a way it never did before. And hey, if this perspective hits different for you, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button and drop a like. It helps more people find this kind of honest conversation about money. All right, let's keep going. Here's the thing most financial advice gets wrong. It tells you to start saving for retirement at 25, to max out your 401k, to think about compound interest and your golden years. And that's not bad advice. But it's incomplete, because it assumes the finish line is retirement. It's not. The finish line is death. And death costs money. We've been conditioned to think about financial planning in this forward-moving, optimistic way. Career, raise, house, kids' college, retirement, travel. It's all about accumulation. Build, build, build. But no one teaches you to think about the end, about what happens when you're gone, about the financial and emotional burden you might leave behind if you don't prepare. And I get it. Thinking about your own death feels uncomfortable. It feels like bad luck, like you're tempting fate. But here's the truth. Avoiding it doesn't make it go away. It just makes it more expensive and more painful for the people you love. Most people stumble into financial planning. They react. They save when they can. They invest when it feels safe. They think about insurance when something scary happens. But reverse retirement planning flips that. It forces you to be intentional, to ask the hard questions first. What do I want my end to look like? What do I want to leave behind? What do I absolutely not want to burden my family with? When you start there, your priorities shift. You stop chasing every financial trend and start building a plan that actually reflects your values and your reality. So let me walk you through what this actually looks like. You start at your funeral, not in a morbid way, but in a practical one. What do you want? Burial or cremation? A big service or something small? Do you want to be remembered in a specific place? These aren't just emotional questions. They're financial ones. A traditional funeral in the U.S. averages around $15,000. Cremation is cheaper, maybe $3,000 to $7,000, but it's still not pocket change. A burial plot alone can run anywhere from $1,000 to $4,000, depending on where you live. And here's what most people don't realize. If you don't plan for this, your family pays for it in the worst possible moment. They're grieving. They're emotionally exhausted. And now they're making high-pressure financial decisions. Funeral homes know this. They sell packages in moments of vulnerability. Your family might overspend out of guilt or love or just sheer confusion. But if you plan ahead, you remove that burden entirely. You can prepare for your funeral. You can set aside money in a specific account. You can get life insurance that covers it. Or, if you're more minimalist, you can make it clear you want the simplest option possible and document that legally. This isn't about being controlling from beyond the grave. It's about being considerate. It's about saying, I love you enough to not make you figure this out alone. Now, once you've handled the funeral, you work backwards to the next question. What do you want to leave behind? For some people, the answer is nothing. They want to spend their last dollar on their last day. That's valid. But for most of us, there's something. Maybe it's making sure your spouse is okay financially. Maybe it's leaving a little something for your kids so they're not starting from zero. Maybe it's a cause you care about, a scholarship, a donation. This is where legacy planning comes in. And legacy doesn't have to mean millions of dollars. It just means being clear about what matters to you. Let's say you want to leave your kids $50,000 each. That's a goal. That's something you can plan for. You can get a term life insurance policy for $500,000. And if you're healthy and in your 30s, that might cost you $40 or $50 a month. Affordable. Manageable. Done. Or maybe you don't want to leave money. You want to leave something tangible. A paid-off house, a car, a small business, whatever it is. Knowing that helps you make decisions today. It helps you decide whether to pay off the mortgage early, whether to invest aggressively, whether to take that risk or play it safe. And if you don't want to leave anything, that's fine too. But you still need to plan for end-of-life medical costs, elder care, and making sure you don't outlive your money. Because running out of money at 85 and becoming dependent on your kids, that's a different kind of burden. If you're still with me, and this is making you rethink how you approach your finances, go ahead and subscribe. Seriously, it keeps this kind of content coming, and I appreciate you. All right, now let's keep working backwards. You've planned your funeral. You've figured out your legacy. Now the question is, how do you want to spend your final decades? This is the retirement part everyone talks about, but we're approaching it differently. Because most retirement advice is generic. Save $1 million. Withdraw 4% a year. Hope it lasts. But when you work backwards from death, you start asking better questions. Do you want to travel in your 60s and 70s while you're still healthy, even if it means spending more early on? Or do you want to live modestly and preserve wealth for your kids? Do you want to stay in your home and age in place, which might mean paying for in-home care later? Or do you want to downsize, move closer to family, maybe even into a retirement community? These aren't one-size-fits-all answers. And that's the point. Reverse planning forces you to personalize your strategy instead of just following some influencer's 10-step formula. Here's an example. Let's say you realize you want to spend your 70s traveling, seeing the world while you can still walk, hike, enjoy it. That means you need more money earlier in retirement, not later. So maybe you work a few extra years. Maybe you invest more aggressively in your 50s. Maybe you delay Social Security to get a bigger payout later when you're less active. Or maybe you decide you don't care about travel. You just want peace. A small house, a garden, time with grandkids. That's a different financial plan. You might retire earlier. You might prioritize paying off your house. You might focus on low-cost hobbies and experiences. The point is, when you know how you want the end to feel, you can build backwards to make it happen. And now we get to the part most people ignore: end-of-life medical and care costs. This is the scary one, because it's unpredictable. You might live to 95 and never spend a day in a nursing home. Or you might need memory care for a decade. The average cost of a nursing home in the U.S. is over $100,000 a year. Home health aides run $30 to $40 an hour. Medicare doesn't cover long-term care. Medicaid does, but only after you've spent down almost all your assets. So, if you want control over your care, if you want options, you have to plan for it. Some people get long-term care insurance. It's expensive, but it can protect your assets. Others set aside a dedicated fund. Others plan to rely on family, which is fine, but it needs to be a conversation, not an assumption. And here's the thing. If you don't plan for this, it can wipe out everything you built. I've seen it. People who saved for 40 years, who did everything right, and then one spouse gets dementia, and the care costs drain the retirement account in 5 years. The surviving spouse is left with nothing. That's not a scare tactic. That's reality. And the only way to protect against it is to acknowledge it and plan accordingly. So now let's bring it all together and work backwards to today. You've planned your funeral. You've decided what you want to leave behind. You've envisioned your retirement. You've accounted for care costs. Now you reverse engineer your entire financial life to support that. Suddenly, your decisions today have context. That expensive car? It's not just a car. It's $3,000 a year that could go toward life insurance or retirement. That subscription you forgot about? That's $600 a year that could fund your future funeral. That extra shift, that side project, that investment, it all connects to something real and meaningful. This is why reverse planning works. It's not about fear. It's about clarity. When you know where you're going, the path becomes obvious. You stop second-guessing. You stop comparing yourself to people on Instagram who are optimizing for a completely different endgame. You build your plan, your life. Here's how you actually start doing this. First, have the uncomfortable conversation. Sit down with your spouse, your partner, or even just with yourself and talk about death. What do you want? What do you not want? Get specific. Write it down. Second, price it out. Call a funeral home. Look up burial costs in your area. Research long-term care facilities. Get real numbers. It's not fun, but it's necessary. Third, set up the financial tools. Get life insurance if you need it. Open a dedicated savings account for end-of-life costs. Update your will. Assign a power of attorney. Make it legal and clear. Fourth, build backwards. Now that you know what the end costs, calculate how much you need in retirement. Factor in care, housing, lifestyle. Then figure out how much you need to save each month to get there. Adjust your spending, your investing, your career decisions accordingly. And fifth, revisit it. Your plan will change. You'll change. Life will change. But if you have a framework, adapting is easy. I know this isn't the sexiest financial advice. It's not about hustling to $1 million or retiring at 35. It's about something deeper. It's about living in alignment with your mortality instead of pretending it doesn't exist. Because here's the truth. We're all going to die. That's not pessimistic. It's just factual. And the people who accept that, who plan for it, who build their lives with the end in mind, they're the ones who live with the most freedom. Because they're not running from anything. They're not avoiding the hard stuff. They're just ready. And there's a kind of peace in that, a kind of confidence. You're not worried about leaving a mess. You're not anxious about burdening your family. You've handled it. And that frees you up to actually enjoy the life you're living right now. So if you take one thing from this, let it be this. Start at your funeral and work backwards. It sounds dark, but it's actually the most life-affirming thing you can do. Because it forces you to get clear on what matters, to stop wasting time and money on what doesn't, and to build a financial life that actually reflects your values. You don't need to have it all figured out today, but you do need to start thinking about it. Have the conversation. Do the research. Make the plan. Your future self and the people you love will thank you. And hey, if this shifted how you think about money and life, do me one last favor. Subscribe and hit that like button. Let's keep having these real conversations. I'll see you in the next one.